Okay, cool. Last clip I wanted to show you is some groundbreaking news, really, in the world of AI. Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, thousands of others have called for a 6-month pause on giant AI experiments. The Future of Life Institute notes that AI labs are in an out-of-control race to develop machine learning systems that nobody, not even the creators, can understand, predict, or control. Elon Musk believes AI is a greater threat to humanity than nuclear weapons. Steve Wozniak is jumping in there and asking for governments, for world leaders to be involved. Italy has now suspended the use of ChatGPT. We are seeing an interesting debate happening where if the West doesn't continue development, what does that mean for Russia and China, who continue to keep building? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is realistically going to happen? Is it just them trying to be on the right side of history? Samia, what's your take on that story?
I think it's fantastic what GPT-4 can do and how AI is progressing. But at the same time, it's so scary because nobody knows exactly where we're heading.
Yeah.
And it's the main point is it's not regulated. We don't know what is really real and what can be fake, and which can lead to propagandas. And these are the people who have signed this open letter,
Yes.
at the forefront in that technology that we're talking now. And if they are concerned, then it is all valid, and it definitely calls for a pause, which we don't know whether will happen, because it's very hard to pause. It's not a literal pause, maybe to take a step back and then put great minds like the scientists and AI labs and independent smart people to come together and then introduce the governance and then standard protocols and rules and ensure that it is more regulated and it is validated really for all its design and development.
Yeah.
It's very hard to predict because whoever is created, they don't know exactly what it can really do.
Yeah.
Because it's not that it is so smart as yet, but it is uncontrollable. They don't know what is the next response because it is mimicking all the information that is given, that is trained. It's a bit scary, and I think it is the right thing. But it's very hard because 40,000 other people who are already on the race, how can you really make them stop?
You can't.
You can't.
I think it's just gesturing. But I mean, you're right. What happens when the AI starts creating AI, which creates AI? It's completely out of control. That we can't stop it, even if we want to. I think you tweeted or LinkedIn posted about this story, but Varun, what's your take on it?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it might be just Elon Musk very bitter that he left OpenAI long before all of this stuff took off.
Sure.
So that was my initial thought when I saw the sort of because I think they were putting together an open letter and perhaps a petition.
Yeah.
So the government had put a moratorium into place to pause. It's an interesting one. I think the key thing to recognize in this instance is that OpenAI, who've developed GPT-4, which is the most sophisticated version of GPT, they are really very far ahead of anyone else in development. So all of the power and control of these developments are really just concentrated into the hands of essentially just a few people. They're ahead of Google and Meta. They're ahead of the Chinese government and anyone else. So I think the idea that some rogue terrorist group are going to sort of develop some form of GPT-4 that rivals it and therefore is able to create something that's potentially disastrous, it's highly unlikely that's going to happen because the power is very much just concentrated amongst a few individuals. All of the infrastructure is there, but there is some validity in that. There are, because it's developed so fast, there are obviously some unknowns. I'm trying to think of other examples that I've seen in my lifetime The only one that springs to mind, I know it's a bit bizarre, is probably the development of the Concorde, the plane, where it came out so quickly. And it was so radically better than anything else out there. I mean, I think you could get from London to New York in 3 hours or something like that.
Sure.
And what happened was it was far too. There were a number of dangers that came with the Concorde. It was incredibly expensive, and it wasn't, I think, proven in terms of some of its safety features or whatever. And in the end, it actually got discontinued, and we're actually worse off even to this day because of it. So I think, I mean, obviously it's a bit of a bizarre example, but I think there's clearly examples of innovation which perhaps comes out way too quickly before we've had a chance to pause and think about what the repercussions and implications on safety could be for people. So I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens, but also I think we should tread a little bit carefully as well.
You were for the pause, you're in theory. I don't know if it will actually, if it's realistic, but would you be for or against it, Baron?
It's a tough one. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. I was reading about how the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, you would think someone like that would have already considered all of these things, but actually he's told all of his staff to literally race to throw GPT-4 out there as fast as possible to consumers. So
that wasn't a very smart move, because they well, yes and no. I mean, they just to give context, I suppose, on OpenAI, because we've got into the thick of it a little bit there. It was started by Elon, by a bunch of other super smart people in the world, and they all put in money to create a foundation, a research lab to develop open AI, keyword being open there. Elon left, as reported, allegedly over a dispute around it continuing to remain a non-profit. That's no longer when they raised 10 billion, and it's a different world. So he's left, and he's going to be starting probably a competitor. He's from my recruitment side. I've seen many developers starting to be approached about working for an alternative AI company in the Valley. So it looks like he's starting to basically almost go again on the project, but like you say, from definitely from behind the 8 ball. They've got a head start. But so many companies have tried to rush it out. Like Google tried to release Bard, that failed and wiped billions off the stock price when there was a mistake made on the accuracy of the information on an advert. But it's crazy what small teams can do. Like Midjourney is 11 developers, and that's just as good, if not better, than DALL-E in my opinion. So it's crazy to see where it's heading. What's your take, Varun, on the pausing? Are you for or against that? Or you can say I'm not sure, like Varun. That's fine. But I'm probably not sure myself. But what's your take?
I'd say with most new creations, there's always unintended consequences, right? So Varun gave the example of Concorde. Classic example is Facebook and Instagram, right? So social media itself has contributed a lot to anxiety and depression.
Yes.
And I'm sure, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was building this with his team, it's not something they expected to happen, but it has.
Yes.
And you think of ChatGPT, it touches so many areas of our lives, right? Potentially everything.
Yeah.
And it's been, I wouldn't say it's been developed quickly. Like, I know it's been quite a process to come to where we are now. But because it touches so many areas of our lives, I think we need to be very sort of conscious about, what we're doing. And I do agree. I saw this article a few days ago, I think probably because Varun posted it. And I completely agree. We should be, I don't know if pausing is the right answer, but at least being more conscious about, what we're doing and really thinking it through.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens, but that's what I think.
Does AI, if you had to lean in a direction, does it excite you or does it scare you? Samia, are you optimistic that this will transform the world and it will be like, we're in a utopia? Or will it develop sentience and doesn't need us anymore.
think
Are
it
you
is-
exciting or terrified? Which way do you lean?
I'm excited. I'm
Okay.
very excited to see what it can do because it can crunch numbers, it can give you insight,
Yeah.
complete insight, and it can help in education,
Yes.
it can help in medicine. There's a lot of areas like investments if you want an advisor. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't have to really sit through those pages and pages of documents and then you on top of that you don't understand.
Yeah.
So we need a simple summarized document. I think these things will be very helpful. I'm very excited on that. But I'm not sure whether they can grow into that Sentinel and Sentio.
Well, you said the pause might be a good idea. So clearly you have some concerns, right?
Absolutely, because currently it's not regulated.
Yeah.
And we can't really say whether that content is authentic.
Yeah.
Who actually, if somebody is not interested in the quality of the information and if it goes on to the corporate social media, then it can create chaos in the system and it can create propagandas. We have seen the photos of Donald Trump being arrested.
Oh yes.
And the Pope with the jacket. We don't. I mean, if
I know.
people don't really look for the authenticity of the content, then it's easy to believe and then pursue others.
My wife believed it. She showed me a picture on Twitter of Trump in handcuffs on the floor of
Exactly.
New York, and just look what just happened. And I said, "That's bullshit. That's Mid-Journey. There's no way that happened." But she believed that. Now, if she does super gullible, maybe. But
That's where. See, that's how in the next few months, how can you be sure what is true and what is fake? It's very hard to differentiate.
Elon's ticks. Maybe he was onto something. Maybe you can only trust verified. But then we've seen problems with that with pages which aren't the actual page getting verified as well. So we can't trust what we see anymore. I think we're going to have deep fakes of Biden declaring nuclear war in a couple of weeks. I mean, and who knows if that's going to be what happens when his Twitter gets hacked and that gets posted. What happens then? That's it's terrifying, right? So it excites you for the most part, but you're nervous at the same time because of everything we've discussed. So Neil, does AI excite you, terrify you? Which direction do you lean in?
I think as an entrepreneur, you're always very sort of interested in innovations and progress, right? So I would very much say that it interests me, but at the same time, like we were talking about before, it's important to be cautious, and just make sure that the sort of potential negative consequences aren't, there's always likely going to be negative consequences to most of the things that we build.
Yeah.
We've always got to consider that and take that into account. So it's about finding that kind of balancing act, I suppose, and making sure you're progressing at the right sort of rate and not moving too fast where you kind of ignore the potential negative implications.
The move fast and break things motto doesn't really apply in AI, because when you say breaking things, you're talking about destroying countries, economies, and everything in between. Baron, excitement, terrified, fear, what direction do you lead in?
Yeah, I can certainly empathise with the concerns, particularly when you see world leaders in very compromising situations and saying things which would cause mass hysteria and panic.
Yeah.
Having said that, I saw the pictures of the Pope in the sort of white jacket, which I thought was quite funny, and actually I thought that was actually very realistic. I thought that was real. But following, from that, obviously those are sort of the negative repercussions of AI, generative AI tools like Mid-Journey. But I was reading about a number of companies that have taken that exact same technology and they're developing it for things like, so I know Levi's and Calvin Klein are working with a generative AI company that basically takes their clothes,
The models.
and will develop like 30 models in different sizes, different skin tones, different ages.
Yeah.
And they're able to do that, obviously, far quicker and cheaper than the companies would if they had to hire 30 separate models and do all the makeup and studio shoots and blah, blah, blah. So there's a very interesting inclusivity angle where AI can also reduce bias, it can reduce prejudice, and so it's sort of a two sides to the coin, I suppose. If we did regulate, generative AI, then tools like that may not come to the surface very quickly. And obviously, tools like that are incredibly beneficial. So it's as I said, it's two sides to the coin, really. You kind of want to regulate it to weed out the bad stuff, but make sure the good stuff can still rise to the surface.
Sure.
So I think it's an interesting debate.
What you're referring to there, we discussed in the last podcast, which is lalaland.ai, which is a modeling studio, which Levi, I want to say Levi Roots, but it's Levi Strauss, right? The trousers and clothing company. They have replaced models with AI-generated images, and their rationale for doing this is ED&I. You can select your race, your gender, your body size, your hair color, and then see what you would look like in the images. They're saying it's better for ED&I. I don't buy it because you're replacing the minority models using text, so it's not benefiting ED&I. It's replacing them with a compilation of images across the web. And then that raises an interesting point. Those images might be me or you that have been merged together to create a fake person. Would you sign up for being a model without knowing about it and without not being paid? If your eyes are then stitched onto that body and you have no idea that's you, that's an interesting debate, right? Be crazy to see where all that goes. Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video. If you want to see more like this, please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.